भागवत प्राण श्रीमद्भागवत प्रभो कलिद्वान्तोदितादित्य श्रीकृष्ण परिवर्तितः परमानन्दपाठाय प्रेमवर्षक्षराय ते सर्वदा सर्वसेव्याय श्रीकृष्णाय नमोऽस्तु ते मदेकबन्धो मत्सङ्गिन् मद्गुरो मन्महादन मन्निष्ठारक मद्भाग्य मदानंद नमोस्तु ते असाधु साधुतादायिन् अतिनीचोच्चतारक हाणमुञ्च कदाचिन्मां प्रेम्णा हृत्कण्ठयो स्फुर. So far in the Paramatma Sandarbha, we have been discussing. One minute. First, we discussed the ontology of the Paramatma. What are the pramanas for the existence of the Paramatma separate from the Jivatma? Here we discussed about how there are two kshetrajnas, Jivatma and Paramatma. So this is what we discussed in the anuccheda 1 and anuccheda 2. Anuccheda 1 to Anuccheda 1 we discussed about how the existence of the Paramatma separate from the Jivatma. And then from Anuccheda 2 to 7, we discussed about the three manifestations of Paramatma. The three manifestations of Paramatma as Karanodakshay Vishnu, Garbhodakshay Vishnu, and Kshirodakshay Vishnu. And we also discussed the oneness of the Paramatma in all the bodies. How the Paramatma, one Paramatma is present in all the bodies. And then from the 8th Anuccheda till the 18th Anuccheda, we have completed till the 17th Anuccheda. 8th to 18th Anuccheda, the Gunavataras of Paramatma. The Gunavataras of Paramatma are the Vishnu, Brahma and Shiva, the Trinities. That is the topic we have been discussing. And in that we discussed how the one Purusha expands as the three Gunavataras. Sattvam Rajas Tamayati Prakriter Gunastair Yuktapara Purusha Eka Ihasya Datte Yuktapara Purusha Eka Ihasya Datte Sthityadayo Shiva Virinchi Hareti Sanya Shreyamsi Tatra Kalu Sattvatano Nanamsyuhu. This verse talks about the oneness of how the one Purusha manifests as the three personalities, Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva. The same Purusha also talks about the Taratamya, the highest benefit a living entity can attain by worshipping the form of Vishnu, whose form is made of Shuddha Sattva. So we are discussing about the Gunavatarasa Paramatma. So in the Gunavatarasa Paramatma, we discussed several pramanas about the Taratamya of Vishnu over the other. And we also discussed there are many statements in the scripture which say that the one who considers Brahma, Shiva and other devatas to be, especially here Brahma and Shiva, to be identical with Vishnu, he is considered an offender. And scriptures also mention that those who consider Brahma, Shiva to be separate from Vishnu, he is also an offender. He will also committing an aparadh. That is the problem of mindset of Daksha Prajapati. So the Advaitavadis consider Brahma identical with Vishnu because for them the only entity is the Brahma Satyam. The formless Brahman is the only true thing. Everything else is false. So therefore, for them it doesn't matter Brahma, Shiva. There's no difference between Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva. There's no difference between Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva and other devatas. There's no difference between Vishnu and the Jivatmas. Ultimately, only the formless Brahman is the true entity. So, Advaitavadis, they have the mindset of considering Shiva, Brahma to be identical with Vishnu. And then there are devotees like Daksha Prajapati. They considered Shiva to be independent of, they consider Shiva to be separate from Vishnu. They did not see the connection of Shiva with Vishnu. So we discussed all these things. We discussed four statements from the Srimad Bhagavatam. Fourth canto, Lord Vishnu speaking to Daksha. 12th canto, Lord Shiva speaking to Markandeya Rishi, which talk about the oneness of Shiva with Vishnu. And then Kashyapa Muni speaking to Diti from the 3rd canto, 14th chapter, where she says that even great devatas, they obey the orders, rules set by Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva is the cause of the universe. Maya Devi is Lord Shiva's maidservant. In the 8th canto, the devatas glorify Lord Shiva that your effulgence cannot be understood even by Vishnu. So we discussed how to understand these statements. Now we come to the 18th anuccheda. This is the last anuccheda in this section, the short anuccheda. Tasmat naham nacha shivonye cha tachaktyai kamshabhaginah Brahma Vaivartya Puran ityevam sadveva ityaha. Then he quotes a shloka from the Bhagavatam. So every anuccheda will have a shloka from the Bhagavatam. This is from 10th canto, 68th chapter, 37th shloka. Brahma bhavoham apiyasya kalakalayaha iti spashtam Shri Baladeva. This verse was spoken by Baladev. We'll see the context of that. So therefore, it is rightly said by Brahma, neither I, nor Shiva, nor others are even a portion of a single part of his full potency. The same thing is confirmed by Balaram. Balaram ji, will read the entire shloka. Yasyangri pankajarajo khilalokapalayr maulyuttamair dhritamupasita tirtam Brahma bhavohamapi yasya kalakalaya Shrischodvahema chiramasya nripasanam kwa. What is a worldly king's throne to Krishna? When Brahma, Shiva and even I myself and Lakshmi are but portions of his portions, who perpetually carry on our heads the dust of his lotus feet, which sanctifies even the sacred waters of pilgrimage. And which the cosmic administrators of all the worlds reverentially hold upon their beautifully adorned heads. Brahma, Shiva, and I myself, and even Lakshmi are portions of his portions, and we carry the dust of his lotus feet. Then what to speak of the worldly kings thrown to Krishna? So the meaning is self-evident. So Baladev spoke this verse to the Kauravas. The Kauravas had captured Samba. Samba is the son of Krishna and Jambavati. Samba, he wanted to marry the daughter of Duryodhan, I think Lakshmana. But Samba was arrested by the Kauravas. But at that time, Baladev came to retrieve his nephew. But Kauravas, they insulted Balaram. Kauravas told Balaram, you Yadavas are like our shoes. How can a shoe hope to sit in the Simhasan? So he said, you Yadavas are like our shoes actually. Then Balaramji heard, he became very angry, not because he was personally insulted, because he felt that the Kauravas spoke Krishna like they spoke arrogantly, considering Krishna also to be like their shoe. So Balaramji responded with words of chastisement, and Balaramji clearly says that he and Lakshmi, let alone Brahma and Shiva, are only portions of a portion of Krishna. What is the need of this worldly throne? What is the need of this worldly king's throne to Krishna? So Jiva Goswami has chosen this particular verse with the intention of building a basis for Sri Krishna Sandarbha. Because although we are talking in this section, this anucchedas, Vishnu is superior to Shiva. But this verse is specifically speaking about Krishna's supremacy over Brahma and Shiva. So as far as the supremacy of Vishnu in the trinity of Gunavatara is concerned, this verse does not add much more than what has already been discussed. The same point has been conveyed in the previous shlokas. But it provides an additional insight that Krishna is superior even to Balaram, who is listed among the avatars of the Purusha. Meaning that he too is also Vishnu. That means Krishna is beyond even Vishnu. That is the principal theme of Sri Krishna Sandarbha. So therefore, Jiva Goswami has discussed the three Purusha avatars of Vishnu in this section so far. And the three Gunavataras. The second section he discussed Mahavishnu, Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, Kshirodakshaya Vishnu. They are the Purusha avatars of Vishnu. And the three Gunavataras, that is Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva. So of the Gunavataras, Vishnu is shown to be supreme. In the case of Purusha avatars, all are in the same level. Mahavishnu, Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, Kshirodakshaya Vishnu, all are Vishnu Tattva, all are in the same level. But out of the Gunavataras, Vishnu is shown to be supreme. And now in the next section, that is 19th Anuccheda to 47th Anuccheda, very important section, Jiva Goswami will explain the Jīva Tattva. Jīva Tattva, the individual living being who is under the regulation of Paramatma. So this topic is subsidiary to the discussion of the Paramatma. So this contiguity of subjects is known as Prasanga Sangati or contextual correlation. So he first established Paramatma, the first Anuccheda, and then he discussed the three manifestations of Paramatma in the form of the Purusha avatars. And then he discussed the three Gunavataras of Paramatma. And then now he is going to discuss about the Jivatma, who is the Amsha of Paramatma. So Jiva Goswami began the entire discussion of Prameya from the declaration that absolute reality is one. Vadanti tat tattvavidas tattvam yadjnanam advayam. But expressible in sound form as Brahman, Paramatma and Bhagavan. So Brahman and Bhagavan were dealt with in the Bhagavad Sandarbha. For Brahman aspect, Jiva Goswami did not devote a separate Sandarbha. Brahman and Bhagavan both were described in the Bhagavad Sandarbha, second Sandarbha. So he began this third Paramatma Sandarbha by showing that how Paramatma is the regulator of the Jivatma and the Prakriti. Jivatma and Prakriti both are regulated by Paramatma. So after establishing the ontology of the Paramatma, who is the regulator, now Jiva Goswami takes up the ontology. Ontology means prameya. He takes up the ontology of the regulated. So first discussing the status of the Jivatma, and then after the 48th anuccheda, he will discuss about the Prakriti, because Prakriti and Jivatma both are regulated by Paramatma. So we can conclude from this that the order of topics discussed by Jiva Goswami in the first three Sandarbhas, from Bhagavan to Paramatma to the Jiva and to finally to Prakriti, is on the basis of a descending order of prominence. The Bhagavad Sandarbha, he discussed about the Bhagavan, and then Brahman, Bhagavan. So Brahman was also discussed, contrasting with Bhagavan. After Bhagavan, there's Paramatma, and then the Jivatma, and then Prakriti. So Bhagavan being the self-existent and independent reality. So this is the 18th Anuccheda, very short. We'll begin the 19th Anuccheda. Before that, I told about, we'll discuss about the Kaishika Mahatmya story. So in one of the previous Anucchedas, when we are discussing about the position of Lord Shiva. So it's a very nice story, Kaishika Mahatmya. At that time, I wanted to discuss, but somehow I forgot. It's a very interesting story. Kaishika Mahatmya, there is a place called as Tirukkurungudi. So this Tirukkurungudi is about 40 kilometers from the town of Tirunelveli. So there is the Mahendra Parvata near Tirukkurungudi. In Tirukkurungudi, out of the 108 Divya Deshams of Sri Sampradaya, there is one beautiful temple of Lord Vishnu in Tirukkurungudi. So there is I think the Tamarabarani River flows there. So there was a village on the outskirts of this Tirukkurungudi, a devotee called as Nam Paduvan. He was born there. He was from a low caste of Chandala caste. But he was very steady in his devotion to Vishnu. So every evening, he would come to the particular temple of Lord Vishnu and he would praise the Lord, standing far away from the temple premises. And then a particular time came for testing his religious worship. So that particular day, there was the day of Kaishika Ekadashi. Kaishika Ekadashi, it comes in the Kartika month, not the Kartik month. In the Tamil calendar, it has a slightly different Tamil calendar has in that also there's a Kartika month that is different from the Kartika month in the North India. So in the Kartika month, there is a Ekadashi which comes. One of the Ekadashis, Kaishika Ekadashi, the Shukla Paksham of the Kartika month, which is the 8th month in the Tamil calendar. So Nam Paduan, he observed fasting, and he would be awake throughout the night. And he went in the night towards the temple to perform his regular service of singing for the Lord. So when he was going to the temple, he was stopped by a Brahma Rakshasa who wanted to eat Nampaduan. So Nampaduan was not scared of his life. He was not he was not scared of his life, but he was, in fact, he was happy that his body could satiate the Brahma Rakshas hunger and relieve his hunger. But at the same time, he was sad that his life would end without singing the praise of the Lord Nambi. The Vishnu's name is Nambi there, because he was going to perform his service. When he was going to perform his service, he was stopped by this Brahma Rakshasa. So he wanted to complete his seva. And then, because as he had been doing over the years, every Ekadashi, he would sing for the Lord. He wanted to complete his seva and then become the prey for the Brahma Rakshasa. So he was pleading with the Brahma Rakshasa, please let me go to the temple and fulfill, and please allow me to perform my service to the Lord. And then when I'm returning, that time you can consume me. But the Brahma Rakshasa could not believe that Nambaduan would come back. What is the guarantee that you would come back? So he thought that maybe Nampaduan is actually trying to escape from me. He's just giving an excuse to escape. He said that I know you will not come back and I will not let you go. But then he said, Brahma Rakshasa told that no one who had escaped from the grip of me returned again to me and then gave himself to me. So therefore I cannot believe your words. So at that time Nampaduan said that I will definitely return. So at that time Nampaduan, he made 18 promises. He made 18 promises. He said that if I don't come back, let me get the sin of the reaction of this particular sin. But the Brahma Rakshasa refused. And then he gave the second promise. If I don't come back, let me get the reaction of this sin. And then the Brahma Rakshasa refused. And then when he came one particular promise, if I don't come back, let me get the reaction of this particular sin. Then Brahma Rakshasa took it seriously. Oh, what you are saying is something very serious. At that time, Brahma Rakshasa accepted the proposal. Then he told that, okay, you can go and perform your service and then you can come back. So what are these 18 promises? I will tell briefly little later. So those 18 promises, they actually talk about some of the grievous sins. These 18 promises, they set forth the virtues a person should adopt in his life. And the violation of those promises would make him a great sinner. Finally, when he told one particular promise, that time only Brahma Rakshasa accepted, because that is according to Brahma Rakshasa, that is the worst of all the sins. So that 18th promise was that the 18th promise which made Brahmarakshas accept the Namparman's plea was that the Nampaduvan said that if I do not return, I will earn the curse of I will earn if I do not return, let me get the curse of or let me get the sin of equating Lord Shiva and Brahma to be with Lord Narayan. Let me get the sin of equating Shiva with Narayan. Let me get that sin. That means, or let me get the sin of equating Lord Narayan with other devatas. When he told this, the Brahma Rakshasa said, "Oh, this is the greatest of all sins." Then he accepted the proposal. Then he allowed that Nampadwan to go and perform the service. Then Nampadwan, on the way, he returned. So anyway, I'll complete that story. So taking into account the devotion of the Nampadwan to the Supreme Lord and his intelligence and exposition and his sincerity and his deep faith in the Vaishnavism, the Brahma Rakshasa allowed him to go to perform his service. So Nampadwan lived up to his word. He went and did his service. He completed the service by spending most part of the night in front of the temple, singing the greatness of the Lord in various ragas. And then after performing the service, he happily returned to the fold of Brahma Rakshas. And but before that, Nampadwan was before he was coming to Nampadwan was stopped in the middle of the forest by an unknown person. That unknown person asked him, why are you going to some place in a great hurry? What is the why are you going in a hurried manner? So at that time, Nampadwan he told that, see, I have given a word to this Brahma Rakshasa that I will offer myself as a food to the Brahma Rakshasa. I had given a promise to him that I will become his food. So therefore, if I do not find the Rakshasa in the place where I saw it last, I will go in search of it in the woods. Therefore, I am going to meet the Brahma Rakshasa. So that stranger was none other than Lord Vishnu. Lord Vishnu came in the form of the stranger to test the determination of Nampadwan. And the stranger came to dissuade him from proceeding further. And the stranger said that it was rare to see a noble Rakshasa as a Vibhishana. And all other evil forces should be shown no mercy and deserve to be eliminated. So Rakshasas should be eliminated. Only some very rarest of all the Rakshasas is a noble soul like Vibhishana. But Rakshasa should be eliminated, but you are going to become food for the Rakshasa. You are going to give more energy to the Rakshasa. So Nampadwan said that it is better to die than fail to comply with the promise made earlier. I am a person who keeps promises. And even if I vacillate, my inborn nature is that it will not allow me to bend to convenience. So therefore, I cannot, I have to keep my word. So saying that, rejecting that proposal of the stranger, he moved forward towards the forest. And then Nampadwan reached the place of Brahmarakshasa, and he first expressed his gratitude to the Brahmarakshasa for allowing him to go to perform his service and sing the glory of the Mahavishnu, who was in the form of Azhagiya Nambi in Tirukurungudi. And Nampadwan said, "Now I am ready to satisfy your hunger. You can drink my blood, eat my flesh, and fill your stomach." So Brahma Rakshasa was in a frightful mood till that time. He changed his mind and not Nampadwan. He, showing no interest in the physical form of Nampadwan, the Brahma Rakshasa made a different demand this time. He said, "If you want to save your life and go unhurt, you should part in my favor the fruits you had acquired from the musical offering, the seva which you have performed to Lord Vishnu. You had made the previous night, you had performed the service of singing for the Lord. Just offer me the fruits of that particular seva, and then I will not eat you. You can save your life." So, but Nampadwan, because he cared more for what he had said earlier. He cared more to fulfill his words, which he had promised. So Nampadwan reminded the commitment he had made. And he said that how he had returned without fail as a Brahma Rakshasa. He said that, "See, I am not so much interested in saving my life. You can swallow me. You can swallow me, and but I will not part with the fruits of my musical offering." That is what Nampadwan told the Rakshasa, Brahma Rakshasa. So listening to the reasoning of Nampadwan, the Rakshasa climbed down further and insisted, "Okay, you don't have to give me the fruit of your entire seva. Just give half the fruit of your seva. You can give me only that much. And you can save yourself. You need not give me your gain in full, but just give me half of your fruit of your seva." Again, Nampadwan, he said that, "You earlier told me that you wanted my flesh and blood. I am prepared to give my flesh and blood. But now you are asking me to give you the gain by my devotion through music. So I will not do that. And you cannot ask me anything other than my physical form." So you see that we can see the attitude of Nampadwan, because sometimes we try to use devotional service for a material purpose. Sometimes we may use devotional service for earning money. As a Prabhupada sometimes condemns but professional Bhagavatam reciters. Or we may use devotional service for getting fame, or using devotional service for material purpose. But here, Nampadwan, he said that that devotional service is only for the pleasure of Vishnu. I cannot use the devotional service to save my life. I am not going to give even half the part. And then the Brahma Rakshasa demanded that just give me the fruit of the seva which you performed in one yamam. So there is a measurement of time. One yamam, I am not remembering exactly what is the measurement. So he performed a service for the whole night, but one yamam is a very small part of the time in the entire night. Just give me the fruit of service you performed on one yamam. But then again, the Nampaduan, with a great assertive tone, he did not budge an inch from his promise. He said that I will not give you the fruit of even the songs I rendered during one yamam. He said, music is in my blood. And if you want, you can drink my blood and satisfy your hunger. So the Brahma Rakshasa realized that Nampaduan is not an ordinary person who will break his promise even at the threat to his life. So then he also perceived that it's also perceived that by his utter trust in the Lord and faithful devotion, Nampaduan was conscious of the essence of everything. Like Nampaduan, he was conscious of the essence of everything, that is Sriman Narayana. And so Brahma Rakshasa could understand that how Nampaduan is not an ordinary person. He would not just break his promise just to save his life. And then he addressed Nampaduan as a Mahanubhava. Mahanubhava means a great personality. And then he begged from Nampaduan, just give me the fruit of at least one of the many songs you performed this night before in the sanctum, in the temple of Lord Vishnu. Just give me the fruit of singing one song. You sang many songs, just give me the fruit of one song. And by giving that, liberate me from this Brahma Rakshasa, from this Rakshasa Yoni. So then, Nampaduan heard this, he became moved. Because he previously was saying that you can save yourself. But here he said that liberate me from this Rakshasa Yoni by giving the fruit of one song. So Nampaduan asked the Brahma Rakshasa what sin he had committed to be born as a demon. So at that time, Brahma Rakshasa, he gained the memory of his Purva Janma. And he told that I was a Brahmana called Soma Sharma, and I was going to perform a sacrifice to invoke the blessings of the Devatas. So, but the Soma Sharma, of his arrogance and a lack of understanding and the incorrect utterance of the mantras, he earned a severe curse. And without completing the yaga, he died in 5 days. And then he became the Brahma Rakshasa in the next birth. So he told the story, and then he told that since you are a great devotee, I am totally surrendering myself to you to get salvation. So at that time, so this story was narrated by Lord Varahadev to Bhumi Devi. So the story was narrated. Lord Varahadev was narrating the story to Bhumi Pirat. And then Lord Varahadev said that I gave shelter to Vibhishana. And Nampadu now he decided to give shelter to Brahma Rakshasa who had surrendered to him. So Nampadu told the Brahma Rakshasa, see, this night, the previous night, I sang a particular raga called as Kaishika. And by the effect of that raga, I rang one particular raga called as Kaishika. By the effect of that raga, you will be freed from this Rakshasa Yoni and you will attain moksha. So that the Brahma Rakshasa, blessed by the Nampadu he gave up his farm and he became a devotee. And he took birth in a good family and then he attained moksha. So Nampadu continued his devotion with greater force for a long time and ultimately reached the abode of the Lord. So this narration, this is called as the Kaishika Ekadashi because this story is connected to that particular Ekadashi. Kaishika is a one particular raga. So this story was narrated by Lord Varahadev to Bhumi Devi. And Lord Varahadev told that just like Nampadu, whoever sings in my sanctum that particular raga of Kaishika would gain the power to protect others. Whoever sings or renders verses excelling our glory, every alphabet of such verse and music will bring them thousands of years in heaven as Nampadu. So Nampadu, he earned the respect of Indra and the other devatas because of his service. So Nampadu, he continued his daily service and he was all the time singing the glory of the Lord. And then at the end, the Lord took Nampadu to Vaikuntha. So the Varahadev also told Bhumi Devi that whoever reads or listens to this Kaishika Mahatmyam would also gain his divine mercy. So Bhumi Devi was very happy. She felt fully relieved from the stress of Pralayam and expressed her gratitude to Mahavishnu for his compassion. And Bhumi Devi said that, let the divine music be the source to inspire the people to seek his grace. So this particular, even now on Kaishika Ekadashi, on that particular village in Tirukurungudi, they enact this particular story as a drama. I heard some years back when I had gone there, I was told that the people who are going to act in the drama, well, a few characters only are there. People who are going to act in the drama, in order to perform the drama, they observe certain regulations for a month or something, or for a few weeks. They observe certain regulation, preparing their consciousness to act in the drama. Because Prabhupada says in one purport in Chaitanya Charitamrita, he says that devotees should act in the drama. Because devotees, they know the feelings of the characters involved in the drama. So therefore, devotees should act in the drama. So even the drama who are going to act, they observe certain vrata and regulations for many days in order to prepare themselves for acting the drama. Like that I heard. Ranganath Swami temple in the Kaishika Ekadashi. whole night they sing this particular episode, I think, some number of times. There's a whole night, some program from till the early morning, Kaishik Ekadashi, special program, puja and special this thing happens. So, because this is the main story. The main story of us is that the Nampadwan's devotion. That is the main part of the story. But as a side aspect, that 18 promises which Nampadwan made. So those 18 promises are, from that we can also learn what are the virtues a person should adopt and what are considered to be the grave sins. Like for example, in Ramayana also, when Bharat comes to meet Kaushalya, because Kaushalya character of Bharat. At that time, Bharat tells to Kaushalya in one particular chapter, if I had also planned along with my mother to send Lord Ram to the forest, let me get the sin of doing this. Let me get the sin of doing this. Like that, he gives a list of many sins. So, so in that chapter also we can see that what are considered to be the very grave sins. Now here also, these 18 sins are there. I'll mention this. So Nampadwan, in order to pacify that hungry Brahma Rakshasa, he assured the demon that he will return after fulfilling his promise, after fulfilling his seva. But Brahma Rakshasa did not allow him to go. At that time, Nampadwan made the different promises. And he said that if I violate my promise, let me get the sin of this. The first thing he said was that if I do not return, I will be committing the sin of breaking a promise. I will be committing the sin of speaking a lie. Let me get that. But Brahma Rakshasa was not satisfied. Then the second thing he said, if I do not return, I will let me earn the grave sin of committing the felony of lust and having physical intimacy with the wife of another person. So Brahma Rakshasa was not, but he said that this is also not such a grave sin. He felt like that. Then he said third, if I do not return, let me commit the sin of showing discrimination while serving food to persons eating along with me. So different people are sitting together. If we say, oh, I should get, we are showing discrimination in serving the food. Others are also eating. That is a grave sin actually. There's a verse in the Bhagavatam also in the Kapila Dev's teachings in relation to this particular sin is there. And the fourth, if I do not return, let me get the sin of a person who takes back a piece of land given as a gift to a Brahmana. Who takes back a piece of land given as a gift to a Brahmana. We can see the King Durga story. Accidentally, he ended up committing this sin. One cow, which was given out of the many cows, one cow came back to him, which he gave as a gift in charity to one Brahmana. And if I do not return, let me commit the sin of finding fault and abandoning a beautiful woman in her old age after living with her during her youthful days. This is another grave sin. And then sixth is, if I do not return, let me commit the sin, let me get the sin of a person who after performing tarpanam on a new moon day, that is Amavasya, and lasciviousness, indulges in some say adultery or something like that. So Amavasya, at least Amavasya, one is expected to avoid sinful activity. Even now, sometimes because nowadays meat eating has become so rampant everywhere. Previously, people used to eat meat, okay, in particular day in the week, but meat eating has increased profusely everywhere. But still, there are people who are conscious, okay, at least we should not eat meat on the Amavasya. And if the Amavasya falls on Sunday, they would curse. Why did Amavasya come on Sunday? So committing sin on Amavasya day, that is considered a sin. And the seventh is, if I do not return, I will be committing the sin of abusing a person who chose to serve food. It's a great ingratitude. Somebody who is feeding you, but you abuse that person. That's a great sin, ingratitude. If I do not return, I will be committing the sin of a person who assures that he will give his daughter in wedding, but goes back on his word later. We can see that in that Sakshi Gopal story, that old Brahmana gave a word that he would give his daughter in marriage to that young Brahmana. But later, because of the family pressure, he was unable to fulfill that promise. The young Brahmana wanted to Brahmana. He wanted to protect the words of the old Brahmana. It's not that he was interested in that particular daughter, but he wanted to protect the words of the old Brahmana. So therefore, he called for the Supreme Lord to come as a witness. On the ninth one, if I do not return, I will be committing the sin of a person who eats without taking a bath on the days marked by Shashti, Ashtami, Amavasya and Chaturdashi. Every day we are supposed to eat only after taking bath. There is a famous Tamil saying, Kuzhanalum kulittu kudi. Even if you are eating some sattu or some ordinary kanji, but eat after taking bath. That is how ordinary the food may be, but eat after taking bath. But it's said that on Shashti, Ashtami, Amavasya and Chaturdashi, especially if a person eats eats before taking bath, that's considered a great sin. And the 10th is, if I do not return, I will be committing the sin of a person who declines to give a gift as assured earlier. The 11th, if I do not return, I will be committing the sin of a person who lures the wife of his friend who had helped him a great deal. See, a friend who had helped him, but then this person lures the wife of his friend. And then 12th is, if I do not return, I will be committing the sin of a person who has extramarital relations with the wife of an Acharyan and the wife of the king. This is also a very great sin. In the 6th canto, 2nd chapter, when Vishnu Dutas, when they start speaking the glories of the holy name, they say that Sthena Surapo Mitradrup Brahmaha Gurutalpaga Stri Raja Pitru Gohanta Yecha Patakino Pare Sarveshamapyagavatam Idameva Sunishkritam Sarveshamapyagavam Idaneva Sunishkritam Nama Vyakaranam Vishnur Yatastat Vishayamati. So in this shloka also, Vishnu Dutas mentioned some of the grave sins All these grave sins are destroyed by chanting the holy name. Stena Surapo Mitradrug. Chanting of the holy name is the best atonement for a thief of gold or other valuables, for a drunkard, or one who betrays a friend or a relative, or one who kills a brahmana, or one who indulges in sex with the wife of his guru or another superior. And then other things is also the method of atonement for one who murders women, the king or his father, for one who slaughters the cows, and for all other sinful men. And then 13th, if I do not return, I will be committing the sin of a person who marries two women but disregards one and loves the other. That means one who shows partiality among his wives. So in the Vedic culture, the polygamy was allowed because the women population would be more. In order to give protection to the women, polygamy was allowed. But then the man is not expected to show partiality. If he shows partiality to some wife, it is considered a very great sin. As a Chitraketu Maharaj, unconsciously, because of the excitement of getting a child, he showed only attention to only that particular wife. He neglected all the other wives. So it is considered a great sin, actually. And then 14th, if I do not return, I will be committing the sin of a person who abandons his youthful wife, who is a pativrata lady, solely dependent on him. Ajamil also repented. When he realized his mistake, he repented for all his sins. He said, I left my young, very chaste lady, chaste wife. 15th, if I do not return, I will be committing the sin of a person who drives away a herd of thirsty cows seeking some water. Driving away the cows who are seeking water, that is considered a very great sin, actually. So one thing we can see that all these sins are also in a particular order. We can say ascending order. The later sin is more grave compared to the previous sin. So in that order it is there. And then 16th one. If I do not return, I will be earning the sin of a person who commits Pancha Mahapatagam, 5 great offenses listed by the elders. I don't know what is this 5 great offenses, Pancha Mahapatagam. We have to find them. 5 great offenses listed by the elders. And then the 17th, if I do not return, I will be committing the sin of worshipping other devatas, disregarding Lord Vasudeva. This is 17th one. But then finally the 18th one is, if I do not return, I will be committing the sin of a person who compares and equates Lord Vishnu with other devatas. With Brahma, Shiva. So when he said that, then the Brahma Rakshasa, then he said, oh, this is something serious. This is that means this sin is considered, he considered that sin to be the very grave sin. So in that way, so therefore, as the 18th sin, after hearing that 18th promise, the Brahma Rakshasa let Nampaduvan go and then come back. That means the last pratigya is considered to be particularly significant. So anybody who equates Lord Narayana with other devatas, will be facing the wrath of the Supreme. And there will be no way for them to attain moksha, and there will be no let up for them from worldly sufferings. So therefore, the Shastras warn that. At the same time, Shastras also say that seeing Shiva to be separate from Vishnu, that is also considered an offense. That is also considered equating also in offense, and separate from Vishnu, that is also an offense. So this is the Kaishika Ekadashi story.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, that Mahapatrikam, out of that three, I have heard that one is stealing the gold, and then again what you heard that having the sexual connections with the wife of one's own guru or the acharya, and Brahma Hatya. One is that Brahma Hatya. These three I remember, but other two I don't. Prabhuji, why he became Brahma Rakshasa means what sin he did? It is
Yeah, when the previous life he was a Brahmana, and he was going to perform a sacrifice. But in the sacrifice, he chanted the mantras improperly, he behaved arrogantly, and he did not follow the sacrifice properly. Without completing the sacrifice, he died in 5 days. Then he became a Brahma Rakshasa. That's what is mentioned.
otherwise, if he would have performed properly and by his nature that he would have died, he would not have become Brahma.
What?
Means if he had performed the sacrifice properly and by his natural death he would have died, then he would not have become the Brahma Rakshasa. Even if the sacrifice was not fully performed because of his death.
No, he committed mistakes in performing a sacrifice, and he was a Brahmana who behaved arrogantly, like that. Because in the Vedic Karma Kanda sacrifices are, when you commit a mistake, when you don't follow the rules deliberately, then there are reactions for it.
Okay. I understand.
Vedic Karma Kanda is very strict.
Thank you. Thank you.
Because he had the knowledge in his previous life that it came in this life, and he knew what is the gravest of the sins. He didn't forget, right? Because he must have studied all this. So that he considered the last sin as the most gravest.
He had that knowledge. So maybe I will just briefly just begin the next anuccheda, then because we will continue next time only. This 19th anuccheda. This is the next section, the ontology of the Jivatma, Tatastha Shakti. 19 to 37th. 19 to 37 talks about the Svarūpa-lakṣaṇa of the Jivatma. So, ata Paramatma Parikareshu Jīvastasya cha Tatastha Lakṣanam Kshetrajna Yetaha Ityatroktam. So, in the very first Anucheda of the Paramatma Sandarbha, we discussed this shloka, 5.11.12. In the 5.11.12, the Tatastha Lakshana of the Jivatma are described. The Jivatma, the individual self, is counted among the attendants of Paramatma, and its Tatastha Lakshana, extrinsic characteristics, was stated earlier in Anucheda 1 of the Paramatma Sandarbha. What is the Tatastha Lakshana? The Jivatma is the conditional knower of the presentational body-mind complex. Jivatma is a Kshetrajna, conditional knower of the presentational field of its own body-mind complex. Because the body is temporary, therefore the Tatastha Lakshana. So, Svarūpa-lakṣaṇa are the inherent characteristics of an entity. Tatastha Lakshana are they are the external characteristic, extrinsic characteristic of the living entity. For example, there is the Chaitanya Charitamrita. There is a definition of Svarūpa-lakṣaṇa and Tatastha Lakṣana. Chaitanya Charitamrita, where it is explained. Sarvatma. So, Svarūpa-lakṣaṇa Akriti, Prakriti, Svarūpa, Svarūpa-lakṣaṇa, Karya-dvara jnana, yai Tatastha Lakṣana. The shape, nature, and innate form of any entity are known as its Svarūpa-lakṣaṇa. On the other hand, the effects produced by that entity are known as Tatastha Lakṣana. Dvara jnana, yai Tatastha Lakṣana. In the Chaitanya Shikshashtakam, the first verse talks about the 7 effects of the holy names. Cheto Darpanam Arjanam, Bhava Mahadavagni Nirvapanam, Shreya Kairava Chandrika Vitaranam, Vidya Vadu Jivanam, Anandam Buddhivardhanam, Pratipadam Purnamrita Swadanam, Sarvatma Snapanam. These are the 7. Out of the 7, Pratipadam Purnamrita Swadanam, that is considered to be the Svarūpa-lakṣaṇa. And the other 6 are considered to be the Tatastha Lakṣana. Tatastha Lakṣana is the effects produced by that entity. By the Sri Krishna Sankirtana, Cheto Darpana Marjanam happens. Effect of that. Bhava Mahadavagni Nirvapanam. The fire of material existence is destroyed. Vidya Vadu Jivanam. All these are effects. But Pratipadam Purnamrita Swadanam. In every syllable, one tastes the complete nectar. That is the Svarūpa-lakṣaṇa. So, similarly here, in the beginning of the Paramatma Sandarbha, the Tatastha Lakṣana of the Jivatma were described. So now, Jiva Goswami is going to describe the Svarūpa-lakṣana of the Jivatma. The Svarūpa-lakṣana of the Jivatma, Svarūpa-lakṣanam, Svarūpa-lakṣanam Padmottara Kandadikam Anusritya Shri Ramanujacharya Matacharya Varena Parama Vriddha Shri Vaishnava Sampradaya Guruna Shri Jamatru Munina Upadishtam. The Svarūpa-lakṣaṇa is described by Jamatru Muni, who is a great Acharya in the Shri Vaishnava Sampradaya. And he is describing the Svarūpa-lakṣaṇa based on the Padma Purana Uttarakanda. So, the intrinsic characteristics were imparted by Sri Jamatru Muni, who is Jiva Goswami calls that Parama Vriddha Shri Vaishnava Sampradaya Guru, who is a very senior teacher of the Shri Vaishnava Sampradaya in the line of Sri Ramanujacharya, and who has followed the Padma Purana, where it is said in the course of explaining the Pranava Om. So, Tatra Pranava Vyakhyane Padmottara Kandam Yata. The Padma Purana Uttarakanda, in describing the Pranava mantra, the Svarūpa-lakṣaṇa of the Jivatma described. So, I will just read that shloka and then we'll end. Jnanashrayo, you can repeat after me. Jnanashrayo Jnanagunaha
Jnanashrayo Jnanagunaha
Chetana Prakrite Paraha
Chetana Prakrite Paraha
Najato Nirvikarascha
Najato Nirvikaraksha
Ekarupa Svarūpa Bhak
Ekarupa Svarūpa Bhak
Anurnityo Vyaptishilaha
Anurnityo Vyaptishilaha
Chidanandatmakastata
Chidanandatmakashtata
Ahamarto Vyayakshetri
Ahamatvo Vyayashretri
Bhinnarupa Sanatanaha
Vinnarupa Sanatanaha
Adahyo Chedyo Hyakledyaha
Ahatyo Chetyo Aklegyaha
Tvashoshyo Ksharayeva
Vashokshoksharayeva cha
Yevamadi Gunairyuktaha
Yevamadir Guniruktaha
Sheshabhuta Parasya Vai
Sheshabhuta Parasya Vai
Makarenochate Jivaha
Makarenochate Jivaha
Kshetrajña Sada
Kshetrajña Paravansada
Dasabhuto Harereva
Dasabhuto Harereva
Nanyasya Kadachana.
Nanyasyaiva Kadachana.
So the letter Om, letter Ma in the Pranava signifies the Jiva, the witness of the presentational field of the body, Kshetrajna. Jnanashrayo Jnanagunesh Chetana Prakrite Paraha. Letter Ma. The witness of the presentational field of the body, Kshetrajna, who is always dependent upon and subservient to the Supreme Self Paramatma. Okay, I think this is the last line. Makarena, this is first translated. Makarena, Makarenochate Jivaha, Kshetrajna Paravansada, Dasabhuto Harereva, Nanyasyaiva Kadachana. In the Pranava Omkara, the Makara refers the Jivatma, who is the Kshetrajna. And who is always dependent upon and subservient to the Supreme Self Paramatma. And Harereva Dasabhuto, he is constitutionally a servant of Bhagavan Hari and never of anyone else. Dasabhuto Harereva na anyasyaiva kadachana. Nanyasyaiva kadachana. and he is the conscious substratum. I think now he's Jnanashraya. Jnanashraya, he is the conscious substratum, endowed with the attribute of knowledge. Jnana guna chetanaha. Jnana guna is endowed with the attribute of knowledge. Jnana guna. And chetanaha, he is conscious. And prakrite para, he is beyond matter. And then na jato, he is not born. Nirvikara, he is without transformation. Eka rupa swarupa bhak. He is of Eka Rupa, one unchanging form. Atma does not change. Body changes. And situated in his own essential identity, Swarupa Bhak. And is atomic. Anur Nityo. Anuhu. And a Nityo is atomic, the smallest particle without any parts. Nitya, eternal. And pervasive of the body. Vyapti. Vyapti Shilash. Chidanandatmakas Tata. And intrinsically of the nature of consciousness and bliss. Chid Anandakas. And he is referent of the pronoun I. When we say Aham, whom does that Aham refer to? It is referring to the Atma. Aham artho vyayakshetri. Avyayakshetri. Avyaya means imperishable. Kshetri means he is the proprietor of the body. Kshetra is the body. Kshetri refers to the proprietor of the body. And then Binna Rupa. One Jivatma is different from another Jivatma. There is a theory of Eka Jiva Vada that is refuted here. Binna Rupa Sanatana. Distinct from all other Jivas and never ending. Sanatana. And then just like Krishna says, Adakyo, Achedyo, Akledyo, Ashoshyo, Akshara Evacha. The soul cannot be burnt, cut, it cannot be made wet or dried, and is not subject to decay. And Yevam Adi Gunair Yuktaha Sheshabhuta Parasyavai. The Jivatma is endowed with these and other attributes, and Sheshabhuta is indeed the irreducible remainder. Sheshabhuta Parasyavai is indeed the irreducible remainder of the complete whole, Parasya. So therefore, these shlokas, you can see everything about the Jivatma is there in these shlokas. Based on these shlokas from Padma Purana, Jamatri Muni composes 4 shlokas, which we'll see in the next time. Jamatri Muni composes 4 shlokas based on these shlokas of the Padma Purana. So Jiva Goswami is taking the same shlokas. He is quoting the Padma Purana also. He is quoting the Jamatri Muni shlokas also. Now he will, for every characteristic that are described for the Jivatma in these shlokas, he will give the pramana from the Srimad Bhagavatam. He will give the pramana from the Srimad Bhagavatam. That is what we will see in the next, the 37th anuccheda, the Svarūpa-lakṣaṇa of the Jivatma. So, Hare Krishna. So this is the important this one, because about the Jivatma, everything about Jivatma. Because we have studied about Jivatma in Bhagavad Gita also. Here this is a comprehensive study about the Jivatma. Svarūpa-lakṣaṇa of the Jivatma. Balakrishna Prabhu, your questions, many times you ask the questions, consciousness, this one. Those questions will also be answered. This. Okay. We'll stop here. There are no more questions. We'll end here.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. We have time for just one question.
Yes.
So Prabhuji said in that nice story that various types of activities and the simple reactions were discussed. And if we see, Prabhuji, many of those things are so common in today's world. Like as you spoke about the uncleanness, like having taking food without having a bath. This has become very common. And also, if you see, Prabhuji, like as you may be knowing, like in our higher community, also there are so many, rules that people, elderly people at home, they say you don't do this. If you do this, you will get this. And very common, I have heard it from my childhood, from my grandmother, from my grandparents, and all. And many of this, like we had followed, because of compulsion. And after coming here now into KC, like we don't give much importance to it and we don't follow it. So Prabhuji says, just wanted to know how much those type of thing they have effect in today's world. Is it all universal, applicable all the time, at all places? How seriously do we have to take these things? Like the common thing, just as you said, like taking food without having this one, and being impartial while serving, So, I mean, there are so many things that which are very common said at home. So, how much seriously do we have to take this? How serious effect does it have?
Yeah, as far as possible, we should follow, because these are all general codes of conduct. Some things, certain aspects, sometimes it may be because of the time and because of the place, it may be difficult to follow. Just 1 minute. For example, certain aspects of cleanliness, we may not be able to follow while traveling. And then even the Shastras also accept that. Sometimes when you are away from the home or when you are traveling, certain aspects of cleanliness may not be able to follow. But apart from that, in normal circumstances, we try to follow as far as possible. Some other things, because of living in a city, certain things, city lifestyle, certain aspects very difficult to follow. We don't have to completely neglect them. At the same time, we don't have to make certain thing as the all in all, because some other things are very grave sins. Some things cannot be compromised at all. But for certain aspects of, say, cleanliness or certain things, because of the modern city lifestyle, some things maybe, some things are we can follow them, but sometimes we don't know. Like for example, a person has eaten in a place, then after mopping that place, after cleaning that place, then another person sits and takes food. These are simple aspects of cleanliness. These are practical, these are possible to follow even now. But sometimes because of not being emphasized, and even in temples they are not followed. So then because of lack of education, these are not followed. But when we study the acharyas, or even in some certain traditional, when you go to Gaudiya Mutt, they still have a practice. If somebody has taken food in a particular place, then he would at least put some water and just slightly clean it, and then before another person sits there. So that kind of the simple things to follow. And as we should try to follow as far as possible. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would take bath. Prabhupada says some place two times, 3 times a day. So Brahmanas should take bath like that. Prabhupada says this is a standard. So some things are possible. Some things they are unable to. One is unable to practice. At least one should remain steadfast in the Bhagavata Dharma, chanting of the holy names, direct activities of bhakti. Hare Krishna.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, we'll end here. No more questions. Grantara
Prabhuji,
Srimad.
so are we discussing about these the various characteristics of this Atma, Jīva, like in the next sections, right? Prabhuji, elaborately, right?
We will start for the next session.
Okay. Okay.
Next week, I'm going to Jagannath Puri for Ratha Yatra. No, Thursday is the Ratha Yatra. I don't know whether, because usually the Ratha Yatra, because of lakhs of people coming there, network, I'm not sure whether it will be proper. So I will inform about the class.
Okay.
ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय,
जय
श्रील जीव गोस्वामी प्रभुपाद की जय।
जय
हरे कृष्ण।
Prabhuji, you'll send the
Krishna, thank you.
recording, right?
की जय।
I'll send.